Hey, dad hackers, do you want to engage more with your kids and start better conversations? Well, stick around because I'm about to share with you my top 10 conversation starters to get you talking with your kids. All right, dad hackers. This is Dad Hackers, and I am Patrick Antonucci. I'm a father of 5, a husband for 14 years, and in this community of Dad Hackers, we are devoted to encouraging, equipping, and enabling dads to become the men that God designed and created them to be, so that they can raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ and leave a legacy of multi-generational faithfulness. So everything that we do in this community is centered and revolves around becoming the men that God designed us to be. One of the things that we do is we want to engage with our children more so that we can connect with them more, so that we can build and tighten and strengthen our relationship with them. So often, one of the things that dads tend to struggle with is being able to talk to their kids. You know, you sit in the car on the way to the store or on the way to the game or on the way to school or whatever, and you're like, man, I really could use this time to talk to my kids, but like, what do I say? And then you find like, oh, I'll ask them how their day was. How was your day? And they're like, good. End of conversation, right? Does that ever happen with you? You try, but it just kind of fails, and you get those one-word answers. Well, that's part of the problem, is that we ask questions in such a way that it elicits a yes or a no or a single word response, and we end up not having a conversation, and then we're like, oh, well, tell me about it. It was fine. Well, I mean, like, how was it fine? Well, it was good. And then you just play that game for a couple rounds, and then you get tired of it, and you're just like, well, this isn't working, so you turn the radio on or turn it back up or whatever. So hopefully one of these 10 can help you out in talking with your children. So I got my list here, so I'm going to read from that, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But the first one, the thing that you can talk and ask them is, what is one of your favorite memories? See, they can't say yes, no, one-word answers. That's hard to answer with one word. It's more of an open-ended type of question. And I know personally, my kids love hearing stories about when I was their age, or they love talking with their grandparents or any other adults and hearing stories about some of those people's fond memories. Well, your kids too have memories, and when you ask them about those memories, it helps them relive them, and I think it actually strengthens the bond that they have with those people that are involved in those memories. So that's one that you could do right there. Another one is, what is the best compliment you've ever received? Now, this one is good because, your kids may or may not have received a lot of compliments. But you may be complimenting them in a way in which they're not receiving it as a compliment, or it's kind of meaningless to them. So when you ask this question, the response that you get opens the door to what they like and what they appreciate and what they perceive as a genuine compliment. So then you can take that information and use it and create compliments, legitimate, honest, true, sincere compliments, but in that area. For example, if you're complimenting your kid about schoolwork and that doesn't really matter to them. What matters to them more is how creative they were when they built their latest Lego creation, or the make-believe town that they set up with their stuffed animals. Maybe that's more important to them. And so when you ask this question, it kind of gives you ammunition for how to fire compliments at them. Number 3 is, what part of the day do you look forward to? Again, This opens the doors to their likes and to their preferences. You might think it's breakfast, but to them it might be that time of the day when you're tucking them in and it's just you and them talking. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, but you get what I'm saying, that when you ask them this type of question, what's your favorite part of the day, not only does it elicit more than just a one-word response, but it gives you information to peer into them and who they are to get to know them better, and then you can parent them better. Isn't that cool? Number 4, and this is for kids that are still in school, if you had your choice, who would you sit next to in class? Now, that might elicit James, Bill, Susan, one-word response, but then you can take it a step further and say, why? What about that person? Why did you pick them? And then that can open up more dialogue, and then again, you can see into their mind and get to know, like, well, what do they like about people? What kind of traits and characteristics and personality qualities are they liking about people? And that just helps you know your kids better. Number 5, what makes someone a good friend? All right. Now, again, you can't just answer that really with one word. So you got to expand on it a little bit. Number 6, how do you know if someone is a person you should not be friends with? See, the previous one was more on what kind of characteristics and qualities they like in people, but this one helps them to think and evaluate, well, what does make someone a person I should not be hanging around with? And then that can actually open the door to a conversation and a discussion about character traits and godliness and righteousness and holiness and the type of people that we should be surrounding ourselves with. Iron sharpens iron, but also bad company corrupts good morals. Those types of teachings that are in God's Word that we can now begin to teach our children because we've asked this type of question. Number 7, what do you like best about such and such a person? And here again, you're getting a great opportunity to peer into their mind about their likes and their preferences, and also what is impactful to them. And then again, you can kind of tailor-make your parenting around that to a certain degree. Number 8, what do you think I like best about you? Now that might be a scary one because you might try to be a certain type of dad, and you might try to develop your relationship with your children in a certain way. But when you ask that question, it really is a vulnerable type of question for you to ask, meaning that you yourself have to be vulnerable. And again, take yourself out of the equation and just listen, because that question is about them, right? What do you think I like best about you is really a question for them to answer. And if they don't answer it the way you think they should answer it, or the way you think they should have answered it, or the way you think they would have answered it, be okay with that. And don't get upset, but focus on the purpose of asking that question is to develop and initiate a conversation so that you can deepen your relationship with them and connect with them. Okay, number 9, do you believe in God? And then why or why not? I know do you believe in God is a yes or no type of question, but depending on the age of the kid, this may or may not be an appropriate question. If they're too young to understand this, then it's not a good question. If they've already expressed their belief in God, but there's that sweet spot where they're still kind of wrestling, or even in the teenage years when they begin to develop their own faith and make their faith their own faith instead of the faith of their parents, and they begin asking questions and they begin challenging the teachings of Christianity, this might be a good time to ask this question, and then it can open up a great dialogue about God and who He is and why we believe the things that we believe, and be able to do some apologetics type of work with your children. And finally, number 10, why is it important to be faithful and honest or truthful? And you could actually extend this question and ask any type of character quality. Why is it important to be patient? Why is it important to be pure? Why is it important to be gentle? You know, you could go right down through the fruit of the Spirit. I wouldn't go through all 9 fruit of the Spirit, in one setting. But, at different times you could probe these different questions. And what it does is it opens up a conversation, but it also gets them to begin thinking about these types of things, because these aren't things that are taught in school. In school, we're taught love everybody, tolerate everybody. We're not taught to evaluate good and evil and right and wrong and truth and lies. They're not really taught that. But that is your responsibility as a father to teach them that. We can't brush that off to the public schools, and we can't brush that off to the church. It is your primary responsibility to teach them about truth and falsehood and good and evil and godliness and those types of different things. So I hope one of those 10 different conversation starters was helpful to you. Thanks for being a part of this community of dad hackers, where we want to encourage, equip, and enable men to become the men that God created and designed them to be, so that they can raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ and leave a legacy of a multi-generational legacy of faithfulness. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so that you keep up to date with the latest content and that you are a vital part of this community. Also, feel free to like, comment, and share. Question of the day, down below in the comments, put what is your conversation starter that you have used with your children. Also, if you want to take this community to the next step, feel free to join our private Facebook group. It's a free private Facebook group just for Christian dads. The link's below in the description, so make sure you check that out and join us there. And you guys have a great day. Patrick here with Dad Hackers. Take care.